Okay, reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 2, Chapter 3, Text 146. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Premṇo ntar-aṅgaṁ kila sādhanottamaṁ. Manyeta kaiścit smaraṇaṁ kīrtanam. Ekendriye vicetane vicetane sukhaṁ bhakti sphuraty kīrtanātmikā. Some think that remembering rather than chanting is the essential means of devotional practice, the means that most effectively leads to prema. For bhakti in the form of chanting appears quickly and easily, and in only one sense, that of speech, which is not itself alive. Om Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Sapadantikam Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just to put everything in context, remember this section is about Gop Kumar, seeing the Vaikuntha Vasis, who Lord Shiva was even attracted to, and seeing the Vaikuntha Vasis, who even Lord Shiva was attracted to. He developed a strong desire to go to Vaikuntha. Now, there's a very important point that comes here, is that everything that, he has this faith in Krishna, but everything that he confronts and is attracted to is Krishna, but it's not Krishna fully manifest. Like if you see your lover is a high court judge, it's your lover, but it's your lover not fully manifest. So you're attracted, but not fully attracted. Like Radharani, when she goes to Kurukshetra, she sees Krishna. She's attracted, but not fully attracted. And initially, you may be fully attractive until you realize it's not the full manifestation of your Lord. And again, that same point is there, that what we are is our love. Our love. I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a student, I'm a teacher, I'm a friend. This is who we are because we are meant for love, and love is manifest in relationship. So Gop Kumar becomes attractive because that's his faith, that's his experience by chanting this mantra. He has faith in God. And what a wonderful thing to have faith in God and have faith in the ultimate reality and have faith in that object of our attraction that actually can elevate the consciousness, that actually can satisfy our soul, as opposed to all the other objectives and goals and faith we have that ultimately disappoint us, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, whether it's fame, whether it's money, whether it's position. When we get there, there's still, as they say, the God hole in the heart. The God hole in the heart. So, Gop Kumar, and he's disappointed that he's not qualified. And that's always the right conception, because if we think we can earn God, we don't understand what God is. So naturally, that should be the feeling. It's hopeless. And again, this concept of asabandha, our hope cannot be bound, because even though we have the understanding of the unattainable, what is God? But his greatness is that he's also merciful, which means he gives that which is undeserved. So that realization of humility, that I'm not qualified, is exactly the qualification that attracts God. That humility, that want, that need. Need attracts the fulfiller of need, who is merciful. Who is merciful. So yeah, and then we just always seeing the qualities of Vaishnavas. We have this is my realization. If Prabhupada's mission is to ever to fulfill Prabhupada's legacy, our most important contribution is that we become Vaishnavas. And we see what Vaishnavas are. They're very compassionate, they're very selfless, they're very humble. So they see this Gop Kumar in this distress of being not qualified to attain what is the worthy object and the worthy goal. And they tell him, yes, you are qualified. And then they begin to explain the nature of, we get all these tattvas in between. They explain the nature of bhakti, that it's not a material thing. It's actually something very divine and very spiritual, although it appears to manifest through the senses. It's not a material product. What is it? Nitya siddhasya bhavasya. It's eternally manifest some kind of reality. And again, the analogy is that it's dormant in our hearts, like fire is in wood. But when you look at wood, you don't see fire. But if you bring fire, that fire comes out. So when you practice bhakti, what happens is this thing that's eternal, not created by you, starts to manifest within you in terms of a feeling of joy or ecstasy. And then they want it to, because they're explaining you're qualified now, but there's something special about Vaikuntha, sometimes by your objective of going to Vaikuntha, going to God's abode. And then again, they have to explain that it's not a material thing. And the purport between a jewel and glass, they're both this kind of it was given you become confused, just like lust and prema, or gold and iron. They're both metals. So if the Shastra says you know, it describes something as iron, and then someone explains something as gold, and you think that's iron. Well, yes, it's metal, but it's not. So when they start to explain form and activity, and sometimes in the Shastra that's condemned, then you bring that perception to Vaikuntha, or the spiritual world. There's such a tendency to think that this is mundane, this is ordinary, this is anthropomorphic. It's just a creation a projection of what we see here and there. And that's why the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are so difficult, to understand, because they have this form of emotion, both in its negative, and both in its passion and both in its depression. But it's born of love because the objective is Krishna. So it's actually ecstasy, although it has the form of things that are completely not in this world. And then finally, the Vaikuntha Vasis, you want to go there quickly, because the whole objective is, if Gop Kumar wants to go to Vaikuntha, and somehow or other his journey to the spiritual world is a journey of various experiences, which reaffirm his faith in the highest thing, because it never satisfies him, but somehow it's connected to that journey. So what part are we up now? So they say he has go to, you want to do it quickly, you go to Vrindavan and do Nam Kirtan, and that actually is the quickest path. Go to Vrindavan, either physically or in your mind, and do Nam Kirtan. Then, as they're explaining it, because when you're a teacher, you speak the truth, but you also understand how the student may not understand what you're saying as the truth by his own lack of frame of reference or his own experience. So one of the relationships between a teacher and a student is that the teacher speaks, and by the student's response, the teacher understands what it is in the student's frame of reference that is lacking to understand the truth he is giving. I always say, you can speak the truth. It doesn't mean the truth is understood. Some people misunderstand that. I'm just going to speak the truth. And it doesn't work that way. You have to have realization to shape the truth without losing the meaning of the truth, to shape it to fit or give. And that's why it's essential for the disciple to raise their doubts. Otherwise, the teacher doesn't understand what the student is lacking in his own frame of reference to actually understand this. So, these Vaikuntha Vasis that are educating Gop Kumar, go to Nam Sankirtan, they realize that there's a certain group of advanced devotees who will promote that the highest thing is smaraṇaṁ. And that already happened when he went to Tapaloka, and it was presented to Gop Kumar very strongly already. So he may already have that misconception, because the people in Tapaloka are saying no, and they gave so many reasons why it's the mind and focusing the mind. But our philosophy is Taramadye Sarvashreshte Nama Sankirtan Nira-aparade Poya Praya Premada. Of all the 9 practices of devotional service, chanting the holy name is the best. And if one can do it without offense, one can easily attain prema. So these Vaikuntha Vasis, they're very good teachers. So they want to clear up this misconception. And as you'll see, I'm going to cover this today, how subtly they do it, because they also want to validate this point about the mind. So it's a very interesting thing. They're going to promote Nam Sankirtan, but they're going to validate the primacy in devotional service of remembrance. But why Nam Sankirtan is the best means of remembrance. And they're going to come to the point that when you're saying smar, you got it right, but not exactly right. Because you want to promote smaran. It can't just be smriti, remembrance. It's smaran on a very advanced platform. And if you can come to that very advanced platform where you're so deep in remembrance of Krishna that all those things that you're remembering actually come out into the senses, okay, that's the best. Otherwise, smaran or remembrance at that level of that platform, it'll come to the senses, and the senses not being engaged will go to material things. Where if it's at that level, we'll read it, at that level of height, it'll be so forceful when it goes to the senses, the mind to the senses, it will energize everything in Nam Sankirtan and all the items of devotional service. So it's a great advantage for me to give classes in the West, because when I give it in India, I have a whole day of activities before I sit in the class. Now I've just been up chanting. And also I'm very careful. I have a new system here of preparation that I really like. So let's go. So here what it says in this verse, some think that remembering rather than chanting is the essential means of devotional service, the means that most effectively leads to prema. For bhakti in the form of chanting appears quickly and easily, and only in one sense, that of speech, which is not itself alive and conscious. So here, it's their opinion, and this was expressed by the people in Tapaloka, that smaran is best. And the reason is kirtan only involves one sense, that of speech, and it's one of the karmendriyas. It's an unconscious material entity. And since it's kind of perfected very quickly, it really can't be the best. And this is actually the conception of the people in Satyaloka, and why Nam Kirtan was not practiced in Satyaloka, because people were so qualified that they couldn't imagine just by chanting the holy name, you can easily achieve perfection. And I see this with some people that are advanced in Gyan. They kind of samskarically, if that's a word, samskarically, they look at it more as material and they're not without inhibition, without uh, attachment, chanting the names above the Lord, because it looks like such a material type thing. And it looks like so easy when this jnanic meditation process really deals with the mind. I wrote an article why we chant japa, and people always ask that, because kirtan, why didn't Prabhupada said, okay, every day do 2 hours of kirtan in the morning? Because when you're chanting, first of all, it's a intimate thing with you and Krishna alone, which has an effect. But you're dealing with that mind. And ultimately, to come to that level of smaran, you have to purify the mind. So here they say it's not the highest. It deals with with senses, which are material, and it's too easy. Bhakti prakrista smaraṇaṁ sarvendriyanam adape valole gore balishte manasi prayasar nate visambati vishoditeya. Superior bhakti in the form of remembering, they think, appears within the mind, that turbulent, frightful, and mighty chief of all senses, when by serious effort the mind has been brought under control and fully purified. So there's their argument that only when the mind is controlled, when bhakti becomes successful. So smaraṇaṁ is the most important because you're dealing with the mind. And it deals only with the mind. And again, this is one of the aspects of our process. It's important with japa. You have to deal only with the mind. Not only, we also chant. So to subdue the mind is the greatest achievement. It's the ruler of the senses. So why shouldn't this be the most important thing? And of course, Prabhupada said that the main principle of devotion, he's quoting from the Padma Purana, is to remember Krishna and not forget him. The spiritual master finds the ways and means to engage one's mind in devotional service. So there's a sannyas mantra that we get, and it's from the 11th canto, the Avanti Brahmin who renounces the world. And he has certain prayers, and he says, when all the senses have become under control of the mind, since time immemorial, and the mind never comes under the sway of any sense, it says all the senses have been under the control of the mind since time immemorial. The mind himself never becomes under the sway of any other sense. He is stronger than the strongest, and his godlike power is fearsome. Therefore, anyone who can bring the mind under control is the master of the senses. So their opinion is one achieves the highest perfection by controlling the mind and engaging it in remembrance of the Supreme Lord. So again, these are the Vaikuntha Vasis. They're recommending Nam Sankirtan, but they have to clarify the doubts of Gopkumar that he might have gotten when he visited Tapaloka, where Pipalayana Rishi presented in such a forceful way that it's the mind and it's meditation. Manyamahe kīrtanam eva sattamam lolatmakaika svaridhi sparatsmrte vace svayukte manase shrutau tata divyat param ap upakorvaratmavat. But we consider chanting to be alone the most excellent form of bhakti, better than remembering, which appears only in one's own turbulent heart. We consider chanting alone, we consider better than remembering, because remembering only appears in one's own turbulent heart. Trying to find that word. It appears only in the lolatmikā, the unsteady swadhi. It's sphuraty. For chanting harnesses not only the faculty of speech, which engages directly, but also the mind and sense of hearing. And chanting helps not only the person practicing, but others as well. So chanting, that now they're explaining. The Vaikuntha Dutas, the people, no, chanting, better. Because remembrance appears only in the turbulent mind, but chanting takes the faculty of our speech, engages it directly, and also the mind and sense of hearing, and it's beneficial for others. So kirtan acts on the mind and bringing it subconsciously in contact with all spiritual sensory functions. Okay, I'll read the whole purport. I may have done it Sunday, but I also forget. This is the Vaikuntha Duta's own opinion. Smaraṇaṁ is purely an internal function. Hey, Dalia. Hi, Bo. Uh, one second. They're cooking, and I appreciate it. They cook for me. So I'm giving class.
I'm sorry, but is the pot the?
No, you were talking. That was the.
Oh yeah, I'm talking with Nanda's mother.
Okay. A little quieter. Okay. The, the kitchen is music to my ears. Very nicely, very nicely taken care of here. So nicely. Actually, Bogota's been really nice. I did a program on Monday night. So enthusiastic for what I can accomplish in my visit here. Really. This is the smaraṇaṁ is purely an internal function, but kirtan, which actually employs one's powers of speech, affects both one's internal and external environments. Kirtan also acts on the mind, bringing it subconsciously into contact with all the spiritual sensory functions. If this subtle contact was not established, the spirit soul cannot awaken his real life. It's this question of spiritual senses, that when you're chanting, etc., you contact the spiritual senses, which awaken the real soul. The transcendental sound of kirtan enters the ears on its own strength, without any effort by the hearer, and thus it benefits not only the chanter, but anyone who hears it, treating them all as its subservient dependents. I realize I discussed this because we discussed this point with Gail yesterday, that yes, there's some effort involved, but not the effort of controlling the mind. I mean, just smaraṇaṁ. The process of remembrance does not have such power. In fact, as long as the mind's fickle character has not changed, smaraṇaṁ cannot manifest itself fully. When we realistically consider the relative value of smaraṇaṁ and kirtan, we find, therefore, that the difficulty of performing smaraṇaṁ does not make smaraṇaṁ more important. So definitely, yes, we're chanting, especially Nam Kirtan, chanting and hearing the holy name and melody and tal and listening. You can't say that's as difficult as smaraṇaṁ, just dealing with the mind without any of the external senses. And the benefit of meditation, um, and the examples are given of Ajamil, who could not, who was so degraded, even he got benefit. Well, the benefits of meditation, sacrifice, worship are automatically obtained by the process of kirtan, especially in this age. So it's kirtan, harinama, 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 eva kevalam, kalona, stevana, stevana, stevana. It's the holy name. It's the holy name. What we can achieve in terms of the holy name, we could never achieve just by smaraṇaṁ, especially with kirtan. And then there's a famous verse from the Vishnu Purana, Dayan Krite Yajan Yagyais Tretayam Dwarpare Chayam Yadapnoti Tadapnoti Kalo Sankirta Yakeshava. What was accomplished in the Krita age by meditation, I guess that's Satyuga, but in Treta by ritual sacrifice, and in Dwarpa by worship of the deity of the Lord, in this age of Kali is accomplished by loud chanting of the names of Keshava. The claim made in this statement and others about the potency of Harinam is not merely rhetoric, It is proven by the life histories of many successful Vaishnavas. Imagine Prabhupada bringing, people brought the process of meditation, but really, how many people could take that up seriously if you really know what meditation is? It's factually, you read the Yoga Sutras and you understand that yoga, meditation, is factually impossible. It's factually impossible. But kirtan meditation, you can see so many people take to Krishna consciousness. So much easier. Bhayantara shesha rishikat shalakam bhagindriyam syādyari samyatam sada chitam stiram sat bhagavat smritav sada samyak pavarteta tatasmite phalam. If the sense of speech, which sets all the external and internal sensations and motions, is brought under constant control, then the mind becomes stable and can properly engage in transcendental remembrance of the Lord. Remembrance thus develops as a fruit of chanting. Nam kirtan. Kaler doshe nidhe rajam eko asti mahagunan kīrtanāt eva krishnasya mukta sangam parambhaje. Remembrance thus develops as the fruit of chanting. And yes, in Kali Yuga, everything becomes difficult for us, but this is the easiest process. This is the easiest process. And of course, Prabhupada wanted us to have a life of simple living and high thinking, and the modern age is increasingly not facilitating that, and people have to consider, is there any way I can change my life? Or at least make a plan, because now very few people can even retire, at least in the Vedic system. 50 years old, the Vedic system. And you could see how, I don't know economics, but how economic forces and greed and things bewilder people, that they think that their material life is increasing and that they're having more facilities, but they have to pay for it with their whole life. People can't even think of retiring. And then by the time you get out, with inflation, your savings is worth nothing. I think this was my last Monday morning greetings, was it? No, the one before that, I forgot what it's called. Where I gave that article people liked about that person that distinguished doctor whose mother was dying and they took care of it at home. And he knew the difference between that and modern medical advancement. As Christopher Hitchens in his book Death, which I happened to read, he was one of the four horsemen of atheism. And he was such a great writer. He could chronicle his death almost till the end. Describing the torture of the radiation treatment. He had throat cancer. And he said the advancement of modern medicine is to keep one in the body, tortured in the body, and take away all one's legacy and money. Of course, I mean, everything is balanced. There's, advantages, and medicine keeps you alive, etc. There's many things, but the quality of life. Well, how many of you now can be a hippie and go with three friends and rent a house in Hollywood? That's what it was like in the 60s. That's when America was a wealthy country. How many of you, if you have children, can send them to college? $800 room and board, and And my parents made me ask my grandfather for the money. They had my grandfather pay for it. $800, room and board. And that I used to have a full feast for 20, 30 people, opulent preparations. It wouldn't cost me more than $10. And even if you say there's an inflation, no hippie today could rent a house in Hollywood with two of his friends. So the quality of the lifestyle, we have to consider these things somehow. I don't know. Prabhupada had such a vision. He gave this easy process of chanting, but he saw that this world would be surcharged with opposition. Evam Prapuajana Ratir Matache Pujesham Tatra Vivachani Puje Drisham Tatra Vivekchaniyam Dhyanam Parispurti Shesha Nishta Sambandhamatram Manasasmitirhi. If those attached to meditation on the Lord still insist that remembering is greater importance, with their intelligence, they should make the following distinction. In meditation, the Lord reveals himself fully with his particular qualities, but in remembrance, the mind merely comes in contact with the Lord. So what they're going to do here, they're such good teachers, these Vaikuntha-dutas, they're going to say, some people are attached to smaraṇaṁ, and they're rightly attached to smaraṇaṁ, but they don't got it exactly right. Because we agree, but only on the platform of deep meditation, not just this remembrance. So sincere people, they have this faith and know smaraṇaṁ, but they don't get it exactly right. The purport says, some sincere and intelligent Vaishnavas are firmly convinced that meditation on the Lord is the best form of devotional service. Since they perceive an authentic spiritual taste from their meditation, their opinion must be honored. But as the Vaikuntha-dutas here suggest, the opinion should be adjusted to make it exactly correct. And what is that adjustment to make it exactly correct? That unless you come to this point where the Lord fully reveals himself with his vishesha, he manifests sphuraty in your jnanam, sphuraty, he manifests vishesha, nishta, involving his particular qualities. It's not sambandha, merely sambandha manasa smriti, just some remembrance. No. Yes, we'll agree with you when it's at that where Lord is manifesting. So, because these purports, this is the genius of Gopi Pranadhana and the editing of Their Holinesses Keshav Bharti Maharaj and Jayadvaita Maharaj, that I can read purports. The advocates of the meditational process think as follows. The faculty of speech has the power to mobilize all the senses, both external like the ears and internal like the mind. If a person steadies his mind by controlling the speech, either through silence or through Bhagavad Kirtan, he can bring the practice of remembering the Supreme Lord. So Kirtan is the means to the goal of smaraṇaṁ. Scriptures say that in Kali Yuga, the perfection of kirtan is in itself the goal and automatically includes the result of smaraṇaṁ. But that is only in reference to the special situation of the modern age. It may also be said, this is their argument, that the exceptional faults of Kali Yuga can be counteracted only by the very process of kirtan, not by meditation alone or any means. But actually, there's no absolute rule that meditation on the Lord is less than enough to wash away the contamination of the modern age. Rather, hundreds of convincing statements of Scripture confirm simply by remembering the personality of God, it destroys one's sinful reaction. Thus, meditation is the best form of devotional service because it's all the mind. So go directly to the mind, and then the other activities will be purified. So it says, because they're very scholars, the Vaikuntha Dutas will accept this opinion as long as it is qualified by the understanding that true meditation on the Supreme Lord is a very mature stage of devotional development. In meditation, the devotee realizes the Lord in the heart and directly perceives many details of the Lord's exquisite beauty and charm from the feet to the... Yeah, go get to that level, not just remembering the Lord, but his vishesha, his specific qualities are manifesting, his hair, it's the details. But in the more usual smriti or remembrance, the mind only comes in contact with the Lord as one thinks God exists or I am the Supreme Lord's servant. It's a very, it's, that's, if you want to, if that's your level of stage, at your, that the level, this level of this, if that's the stage, the level of the stage you've attained of remembrance, then do kirtan. Okay, but if you're coming to that stage, and that's what the verses on smaraṇaṁ are talking about, that it's the best. Yes, if you get to that stage, and then it'll describe what happens at that stage. If by the force of one's meditation, all the functions of the senses, including Sankirtan of the Lord, physical contact with him, seeing and so on, become absorbed in the function of the mind, that meditation may be accepted better than chanting out loud. That meditation, where all the functions of the senses become absorbed in the function of the mind. So you're doing Sankirtan in your mind. You're seeing God in your mind. You're having physical contact with the Lord in the mind. Yes, if you can do that, that's better. Purport, if a devotee becomes so proficient in jhana, meditation on the Lord, that the devotional practices he earlier performed with his speech, touch, eyes, and other senses become spontaneous activities of the mind, then of course for that devotee, meditation has become the most suitable practice. He can inwardly continue his shravanam, kirtan, and so on, with or without the participation of the external senses. So how beautiful is real, detached scholarship, really trying, you can see this is so nicely. I heard one person in debate, he became so frustrated in the modern age where there's not this vada, this discussion to come to the truth, that his only goal is to understand what another person's view is. And I've almost come to that platform because things are so polarized that even if you slightly disagree with someone, they throw you in the left or they throw you in the right. People are so passionate. So I just try to understand what is a person's view. And then if I want, I say, okay, you believe that, I believe this. So look at the Vaikuntha duties. Okay, this is what Pipalayana Rishi says. Okay, we understand what he says rather than bashing him and hitting over the head with Nam Kirtan. Let's see what they say. What I think Thomas Mills says, you can't understand your own argument until you understand the opposing side. You can't understand yours fully. So, okay, this is what they said, this is what they said, and then they reconcile it. Okay, we understand your point. Yes, if you come to meditation on that level, then yes, we see your point on that level. Pratyayato yasya sukhaṁ chayena samyak bhavetad rasikasya tasya tat sādhanottamaṁ susevyam shadbhir batam pratyutasadya rupam. Whatever the devotional method by which a man with true spiritual taste feels satisfaction and complete joy, that is the method saintly authorities deem most excellent and effective for him. It is not only the best method, but the very aim in their endeavor. So what a beautiful conclusion. Burijan Prabhu, and a very wise, very intelligent, and when you come in contact with him, he'd make you think. So one time, what's your taste? I said, why are you asking? He said, your taste is the door to the spiritual world. Someone repeated something that Radhanath Swami once said. You know, people are talking about chanting and advanced practices. He says, yes, sadhak is not nice, but also sevak is very nice. People have a taste for that practical service. So they're going to go attraction for any of the 9 items. What is your taste in Krishna consciousness? And I heard something also. This is just another point that really struck me on Varnashram. 2 people, godbrothers that were into it, they say Vana is important first. And I think it really makes sense when people come to Krishna consciousness, especially with a blank state and they're young, that you find out what their Vana is and have them become proficient. Wait, I'm hearing someone here. Okay. Okay. Uh, Jabunajaya, anything here?
Hare Krishna Raj, thank you so much for class. Yeah, there was really a lot here, and I think I had a lot on Sunday, but I had to rush off. But I'm really appreciating this difference between remembrance and real meditation, and what you said, what the Yoga Sutra says, that meditation is almost impossible. And I remember when Professor Bryant was teaching us the Yoga Sutras, he was saying, look at where Dhyana and Dhyana are, people. And he said they're in the 3rd chapter of the Yoga Sutra, mystic cities. So I remember him saying, if
Well,
you think it's hard to meditate, Patanjali's even telling you that. So
wow, that's right. It's in mystic cities.
it's in mystic cities.
Wow. Good. You gave me a new point.
Oh, glorious Professor Bryant, because he really
Well,
pointed that
actually,
out. I was like,
I was thinking of him because I got this link now to the Hare Krishna film. So yesterday, because it was the day after I think Ekadasi or something, and I don't do well traveling, and I traveled on Ekadasi, and I stayed up late, so my sadhana wasn't the level it is, and the digestion goes off, and so many things. So trying to figure out how to engage myself, and I watched that whole film, and Professor Bryant made some comments, but what a great film and what inspiring. I forgot how inspiring it is to see, and I'm thinking those old days. I'm going to write, I think that's my Monday morning greetings. It's going to be called We Were Crazy, but We Were Fired Up. And, the benefit of being crazy and fired up and the attraction to it at the same time was
sounds like a great article.
yeah, let's see, because yeah, okay. Gail,
Thank you, Raj.
My
Yeah,
God. Maharaj, I mean, I really just don't even know where to start. But this point about that Jamunajaya was making about the mystic cities, what was that point?
he was saying that dharana and dhyana, they're the higher stages of Astanga yoga. And they're in the section of the Yoga Sutras, the third part that deals with mystic yoga. So I guess Professor Brian was making the point, and I guess it supports this thing about Nam Kirtan, that taking these meditational processes, they're not going to get you very far in the Kali Yuga.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was his point.
Yeah, so okay. Where do I start? But I understand this thing where the people in the Rishi was saying that you have to control the mind because the mind is what controls all the material senses, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I understand our point also, but when people in the Rishi was saying this, he's talking about the mind as if to say it's not also material. Yes, it controls the material senses, but the mind is also material.
So what's your point?
Yeah, so
But
I
the
don't know
mind
why he's
controls
talking
the
about.
senses. What?
Yeah, I mean, why is he talking about the mind as if just? I understand he's saying it controls the senses, but the mind is also material. So
Right.
why is he talking about the mind as if to say is a like as if to say it's not material also?
I don't get that. Who's saying that?
Because he's saying by controlling the mind,
Yeah.
you can control the senses.
Yes, of course. And the senses can be directed by the mind, and they can be directed towards spiritual things. They can be directed towards thoughts that elevate our consciousness. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me switch gears. Let me ask something else. Your taste is the door to the spiritual world, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
but in this age of Kali Yuga, Lord
Yeah.
Chaitanya said, chanting is actually our
Yeah.
door.
Yes. Everything is based on chanting, but at the same time, he was talking in terms of service. There's some people that are into deity worship. There's some people that are into managing. There's some people, that are into, doing Harinam Kirtan. There's some people that are into study. I'm finding different devotees have different attractions in Krishna consciousness. The basis, of course, is that it should be connected to inspiring us to chant, but devotees have different tastes. I
Oh
was
yeah,
looking
so
at, I'm going to go to, in May when I come back, Min's invited me to lunch. Jack has this incredible garden, this whole backyard, and he has
yeah.
thousands of flowers, and he's completely absorbed in that. In my retreat, and there's a devotee named Pushpavan, a god brother, and he's such a sweet person. And I sent Jai Subhadra there to learn how to make the parampara samosas that we used to get when we came. Now we get this potatoes and peas, but there was a parampara samosa. And they went down there to learn it from him. But he's completely absorbed in making flowers for the deities,
Yeah,
growing
no.
gardens, completely. And
Mhm.
that it says the spiritual master is expert in finding ways and means to engage the disciple in devotional service. That's what it means. And that's what
Mhm.
Prabhupada did.
Yeah. Um,
Okay. One more,
Just
Gail.
okay, just one more. Okay, I got it. It's a tie between two things, but on Wednesday we were talking about spiritual desires not really being desires. Those are legitimate, but they're pure devotees who all they care about is service. They don't even care about spiritual desires, like
Yeah.
spiritual advancement or things, you know. So I think that's probably why I keep coming back to our even spiritual desires, like legitimate. when
Well, they have a desire to please Krishna. They may not even care which way to please Krishna, but they have a desire to please Krishna.
but what
Because
about the fact that they don't have desire for spiritual advancement?
because they're not concerned with themselves. They're just concerned with the pleasure of Krishna. There's nothing about it that it's about themselves. But if you want to look at it intellectually, to please Krishna, you have to spiritually advance. But they're not thinking about themselves.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, Gil. Yudhisthira, you have some comment?
Well, I was going to ask, and then I was not going to ask, and then I was going to ask. So the other three sampradayas that
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada obviously always respected as
Yeah.
being authoritative, do they each have their emphasis, like
Yes.
Lord Chaitanya made? And how do we view that in the light of Lord Chaitanya's absolutism in his statements about the holy name? It's a big topic.
Well, we're seeing also what's being spread around the world. It's not Sri Vaishnavism, it's not Nimbarka Vaishnavism, and it's not Madhva Vaishnavism. What's being spread around the world is Lord Chaitanya's process. The other processes, I don't think they can spread around the world. They're not meant for the people, but within India and within certain people, they're a bona fide sampradaya. And at the other sense too is, and I discussed this, there's different, there's an argument in the CC between Lord Chaitanya and I think it's Vaikunth, whether it's Narayan or Krishna, right? And I think ultimately Lord Chaitanya at the end says it's both very beautiful. It's both a very beautiful thing.
Mm.
It's just different. There are different perspectives and different approaches on devotion. Kirtan is just really made for Kali Yuga, which is why I think it's become the prominent yoga that goes around the world.
And is there a comparison or a correlation between levels of advancement and when you stop discriminating?
Yeah, it's called Raganuga Bhakti. When the desire is in your heart, right, you act according to the desire, not according to the rules of Shastra.
Mm.
But as one great saint in Vrindavan said, above, advanced devotee is above the rules. He's not below the rules. So it means spontaneously above the rules means he follows them. It's just very naturally. But what he's guided by is his attraction for Krishna. And therefore, he may not follow a regular, you have to do this at this time, you have to do this, and you have to do this. And even in his meditation, it can go anywhere in Krishna's realm, and it can go to Gaur Lila, it can go to this. It's spontaneous. So yeah, there is a level where it is beyond discrimination.
One more quick one, because I haven't lived in Vrindavan like you have at all. Do Brajbasis, by and large, use counter beads?
What is Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta? I don't know if they are practitioners of a particular line, yeah, then they chant on their beads. But there are Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛtas that are not in a particular line or not,
Mhm.
and they still have something spontaneous, but they're not. And a lot of times some of the saints say, "What are the real Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛtas?"
Mhm.
you know. But it is something charming. It really is something charming Yeah, Sabyasachi and myself, we have one assistant. And he comes every day. He comes every day for an hour. And we upped his salary to 4,000 rupees a month. He's supposed to come an hour every day. He brings me fresh rotis in a tiffin every day, 4 rotis drenched in ghee every day. I would pay 4,000 rupees for that in a restaurant in New York. Like that's what it would cost. Here, $40. Here's your 4 rotis. But they have a very spontaneous, but it's hard to see because mostly we're in the cities. But if you go out to the villages, you can see that spontaneous attraction. Anyway, Sabyasachi and myself, we're going to take you to all these places. I'm going to speak to Sabyasachi and see a good time to recommend where you can come where he's there too. We'll have
Wonderful.
some fun. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. And Gail, remember, when I come back to America, you write down all your questions. It's just a call, and I answer them until you're completely exhausted. Okay. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare
Okay.
Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishna-katha. Thank you so much for the class. It's
Okay.
so nice to
Hopefully I'll
hear
see you
the-
when I go to Russia. Okay.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. I'm
Okay.
looking forward.
Okay. Lal, Braja,
Hare
good.
Krishna Maharaj.
Hey, Krishna Maharaj.
Thanks for coming to class steadily.
Yeah, thank you for class.
Thank you for class.
You get the vibe. It's nice here. I'm with Chandrika and Nanda. They're
Mhm.
disciples of Prem, but
Oh,
they're hosting me. And
very nice.
yeah, it's been great. Wow. And what a nice program I had Monday.
Oh, that's
Really,
great.
really nice program. So I may even come back here in September for a few days. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
But
Nice.
an interesting thing, just to remind me of Vrindavan, at 2 p.m. today, there will be no water for 30 hours.
Wow.
So I'm probably, this one lady I know, she owns some businesses. She's going to arrange a hotel for me near the
Oh,
airport.
okay.
So where I can take a shower.
Yeah.
But it was nice here. Okay.
That's
Denny,
very
nice to see you.
Safe
How you
travels,
doing?
Maharaj.
Okay. Okay.
Good morning, Maharaj.
Hi, Bo. Nice to
How
see
are
you. Okay.
Beautiful class. Thank you.
Okay. Haribo. Good to see you. Okay. Suryaradhika,
Hare
Haribo.
Krishna Maharaj, thanks for the class.
Okay. How did you wind up in that place? What?
Krishna's mercy and your blessings.
It's amazing what's going on in your country.
Oh my God, yeah.
In another week or 10 days, the whole country is going to run out of money, maybe.
Oh my God.
And because those leaders don't care about the people,
Mm.
they'd rather the people just suffer,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And lose power.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Haribo.
Thank you,
Oh.
Haribo.
Okay. Vancha kalpa tubhyascha.